Hey everybody, Matt Johnston here, and I'm back. I know it's been a while since I've posted some videos, so I'm sorry if you've been looking forward to the videos. We will try to be a little bit more consistent going forward. So today's video we're going to be talking about some activity at the EEOC as it relates to accommodations. But before we get started, I really would appreciate it. We just recently hit 100 subscribers, which is kind of cool for me. Never thought I would get that far. But if you'd be so kind as to punch that little subscribe button that you see down there if you haven't already done so. And please tell everybody about these. Share the videos around. I really would appreciate it. So we're going to talk about in another video the recent directive from President Biden to OSHA about vaccinations and vaccination mandates for larger employers. But while all of that is happening, our good friends at the EEOC have started to get busy filing lawsuits. So the particular lawsuit that we're going to be talking about was recently filed, and everything that I'm going to talk about here, these are allegations only. I'm not saying that they've been proven, I'm not saying that they're true, only that the EEOC has alleged these things in a lawsuit. Now, let me be honest, the EEOC is not going to go out and risk its time, reputation, and money on something that is not fairly well established or that's not going to provide a great deal of guidance. So the suit deals with a company that from March 2020 to June 2020, because of the COVID pandemic, they had people working remotely 4 days a week. And then sometime in June 2020, this employer reopened their facility and started requiring people to come back to work. An immunocompromised employee asked for an accommodation. So this was an accommodation because this employee has some sort of condition that rendered them immunocompromised. And the accommodation that the employee asked for was to work remotely 2 days a week and to take frequent breaks while working on site. So the employer had directed everybody to come back into the office, and then this employee asked to work remotely 2 days a week and take lots of breaks while on site. So the employee was not saying, I'm not going to work on site. They were saying, I just need this little accommodation. So what had happened was that it's alleged that the company denied the accommodation request, even though it allegedly allowed other employees working on the same position or in the same kinds of conditions to work from home. And then the EEOC alleged that the company fired this employee for making the accommodation request. Okay, so what does all of this mean? Well, there's a couple of points that I want to make. First, if you are going to allow people to work from home, you have to pretty much allow everybody who's similarly situated to do so as well. Okay? An accommodation request is something that is a little bit different. It's asking for something that's different from the rest of the employees, and it has to be based upon some reasonable request. So this is a request under the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the EEOC has provided guidance routinely for the past 18 months that somebody seeking a request for a COVID-related accommodation should be addressed like any other accommodation request under the ADA, which means there should be a dialogue, there should be some consideration of alternatives, and the accommodation request should not impose an undue burden on the employer. Where this particular employer in this case is going to run into problems is that the employee was asking for an accommodation to work from home 2 days a week, while other employees working in the same position were allowed to work from home. Now that's an important factor. And as I said before, if you're going to allow people to work from home, you should be allowing everybody in a similar position to work from home. If you choose not to allow people to work from home, that's okay too. That's permitted. but everybody should be treated the same. And then if somebody makes an ADA request for an accommodation, then you have to address that accommodation request through the normal ADA process. And if you need help with that ADA process, give us a call. We will help you walk through that process to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Now, this particular lawsuit is got a couple of different problems in there. One, there may be a retaliation type of claim. Somebody requested an accommodation, the employer retaliated against them and fired them. There's some facts that seem to indicate that this was a pretty good employee and had been pretty successful during the time during COVID and during the time that the employee had come back. So the employee was pretty successful. So there's some suspicious facts there of why she was terminated. So that is a consideration. So so what are the lessons here? Number one, be very careful about your accommodation requests. If somebody requests an ADA accommodation and you are a covered employer, then you need to go through the process. Have a dialogue, discuss options, okay? And please, for the love of Pete, don't retaliate in any way against somebody who's made an accommodation request. Doing so is going to get you into a lot of hot water. The other thing is be consistent. Accommodation requests for, ADA accommodation requests for COVID are going to become a lot more common, particularly as more and more people are being requested to come back into the office on a more full-time basis, if not full-time basis. So you as an employer are likely to see some of these requests, and you need to be assessing whether or not the job requirements require the person to be in the office. And that means you need to be looking at what are the job functions, what are the essential job functions. An accommodation does not have to be granted if that accommodation negatively impacts the essential job functions. So, spend some time, think about the job requirements, document those job requirements, and work from that viewpoint when dealing with accommodation requests. In the meantime, if you would like to schedule a consultation, talk about any of these sorts of things, please let us know. You can click the link that is down below that will get you to our scheduling page. In the meantime, go out and watch some live soccer. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.